I don't know, man. Some delivering packages at work, and it's just like I'm in this area where this shit is just disturbing me. Like every street sign is like some indigenous, like my people. I know what the real truth is. All these street signs saying shit like Black Feet, Cherokee, Cheyenne, Sioux, like this shit. I can't even cap, man. I don't want to say what I want to say right now because a lot of mics is listening, but this shit disturbing, man. This shit really. I just don't know. I can't. It's like this shit. Like I just want to get out of this area because it's like my spirit in me is just wrestling, like, and it's like. I mean, all I can really say is like a lot of non-blacks live here and have this lane, and it's like I just feel like these niggas got they fucking nerve like naming these streets this, like Navajo, like I don't know, man. I just don't know. Like a moment ago, I'm furious just looking at the names, like my ancestors. It's like my ancestors' spirit is just wrestling with me on this shit, like. And then I hop out to deliver a package, and the white people are just so nice and friendly. This shit be having me wrestling with my. It should be having me wrestling with my conscience, like with my morals. Like it's like on one hand, I'd be furious at a certain type of people that did this and occupied this land. And then they so nice to me. It's really a confusing feeling, man. Like Seneca Lane, Cheyenne, all these Native American, indigenous, black, indigenous names is really disturbing out here. Like, but they got niggas like in the hood, in poverty, no claim to none of this land.
Front line. We been warring with y'all. We just forgot. And then we started warring with each other. We remember now. Like, oh wait, hold on. So the war hit different when you know this shit been going on. Like, hold on. So we the Sioux. Yep, that's us. So we the Cheyenne. Yep, that's us. We the Californian tribe. Yep, that's us. So we the Aztecs. Yep, that's us again. So we the Navajo. We the Apache. Yep, that's us. We the Cherokee, Seneca, Shawnee, Chickasaw, Blackfoot, Redfoot, Illinois. Yep, that's us again. Oh, we the Yoruba. We the Mandingo. Oh, I see. This shit been going on. So you mean to tell me, nigga, the Civil War was us, black people. They want to call us black Indians. Fighting against them, and we fucked them up? And they hid it behind the Civil War? Yep, that's exactly what I'm telling you. Oh, damn, so they can be defeated. They've been defeated a lot. We've been defeating them a lot through history. They never defeated us. If they defeated us, nigga, we wouldn't be here now. AIDS was thrown at us. Crack was thrown at us. The color TV was thrown at us. Chickenpox, smallpox, measles, all of that shit made for us. But yet, we rise. Just like Maya Angelou told him. It's still our rise. Still we rise. The difference now is, it's wartime. We ain't that generation where we just go stay on this internet. Now, we use the internet to remember. Because once you remember, all the motive is in your soul. Like, damn, death ain't real? Nah, it ain't. You done been here a couple times, dog. You you done been here a couple times, dog. Unless you a flat out new soul, you done been here a couple times, nigga. Shit ain't real. Another spell to make your ass not go all the way. You ever wonder why was our ancestors so willing to die? They knew it wasn't real. They understood spirit and soul. They knew it wasn't real, so they had no problem transcending behind what they believed, because they knew they was gonna come back if they needed to, but they gonna keep going. They understood that. They understood it. They wasn't like no crash dummies. They wasn't no crazy motherfuckers. Just let me just go, God, charge. You know? No, they knew something your ass ain't know if they were so willing to die for what they believed in. Die for what they believed in. Die for what they believed in.
Before we were slaves, we were kings. So how do you have a whole entire nation of 40 some odd million black people, and majority of them never heard of Queen Angola, who never heard of the Songhai Empire, the Mali Empire, you know, none of this stuff, right? King Mansa Musa. How do you raise a people's level of awareness about this stuff, and how do you elevate them to want to do things in life when they think they are a slave?
Alright, so that's alright. So this is in the Virginia Historical Society. Now look, as soon as you walk in, the first person you see is him, Powahatan. Now look, my thing is this, right? You see, they go to other images of him. Now look at how he's dressed. He got the 2 chains on. He got the leaf wrapped around his arm. He got the crown, what we call the crown feather or whatever. We don't know what this called, because we know that the Native Americans don't wear this right now. The so-called Native American people do not wear this. We see other tribal people wearing something similar to this, but I don't know, man. It's like, alright, so let me see. This is the so-called, let me see if I can find it. Alright, this is where Virginia's at. You know what? I'm sorry. Let me show y'all something though before I go into that. So the chief of one of the tribes in Virginia, alright, this is the chief right here. His name is Chief Ken Adams. Alright. So these are some pictures of the chief right here. Them some pictures of him right here. Alright. So now, you know, most people when we look at these Indians right here, we think these are the Indians, but this is the Virginia Historical Society. And this is what they saying the Indians look like. Them Indians that they showing you right here is the fucking Indians. These Indians like this right here. These wasn't the Indians of the Virginians. These wasn't even the Indians. I don't even believe that some of these Indians was the Indians of the East Coast, because I don't see no images of it. Right. So now look. All right. So we got this image of Powahatan, right? We got this in the Virginia Historical Society. As I showed you the other images of them, like the Disney images or whatever. They all trying to make them look like being Native American, right? Now look, just bear with me on this. You see, we already know what he got on. We know he got the leaf around his arm. Now look, we got numerous other images. Let me see. Now look, we got numerous other images, like this one right here. We see this? We see these people right here. These people wasn't slaves. These were the people in the tribes that was basically working. So what I'm thinking is this: when these people came here, they got some kind of a treaty with maybe Powhatan, to where maybe Powhatan had his people working in the tobacco field. Okay, I think after they killed Powhatan is when they turned these people into slaves. This is what I think was happening, and I can't prove it, but I'm more than certain that's what happened when they first came. When the Europeans first came to the Americas, they already seen these people already producing the tobacco. When I say a tobacco plantation, this is in Virginia. That's why Philip Morris is in Virginia. In Virginia. The cigarette manufacturer. It's in Virginia because all the cigarette leaves was. I guess you can find cigarette leaves in other regions of America. I'm not sure on that. Do not quote me on that, but I know that they are a lot of tobacco fields in Virginia. So, got that. We got these images right here of Virginia. This don't look like the Indians that they showing you. These brothers got short haircuts. Now look, they got the same thing on, similar to what Powhatan got. And remember what Captain James John Smith said. He said that the other Europeans that came here had problems with the Indians or whatever. And look, this is what they probably did to them. This is how they was killing the Indians. I mean, how the Indians was dealing with the Europeans when they came here. So now we got this image right here, right? So now when you look, he got similar stuff on to what Powhatan got on. They got the leaf on. When I'm looking at this brother right here down at the bottom, he got the same pat thing around his arm like Powhatan. I don't know if he got any chains on, but more likely he do or whatever. But he got the grass skirt on.
So then the other psyop is the fact that we were the natives. We were not brought here on slave ships. That's not economically sound.
What do you mean?
Sense. So when Christopher Columbus got here, Christopher Columbus got to the Caribbean, according to primary source.
Right.
They basically said the first thing he did was take slaves. He didn't bring slaves. He took slaves from the island. He captured people. So when you have colonization, you got to remember, the United States was only built 13 colonies at first, right? You think this whole land was empty? No, there were natives here.
Right.
But today we're taught that natives is some other people. No, natives are the melanated African being that has come here since the beginning of the Mali Empire. We're talking about 14th, 13th century. We had already come here from Africa.
Really?
Oh yeah, we had already come here
to the United States or to
this landmass we call the United States. So the way the ocean current works is it works from Africa, leaves out of West Africa, comes to South America and the Caribbean. That's just how the currents go. You don't need no paddle boat or nothing. It's just the currents just take you there, and then you travel up. But we had already been here. All you got to do is look up the story of Sarah Rector. Sarah Rector is a wealthy, so-called Native American. I think she was a Choctaw tribe or one of these tribes, but she was wealthy, and she wanted a VI pass to go somewhere, and they had her classified as a free person. Why don't we know about the wealthy so-called black people in America? Why don't we know that there were black slave owners in America? Why is that not taught? Why is it not taught?
How many black slave owners?
Man, the natives here had slaves. They were trading slaves with the so-called white man.
Well, they definitely did that. Natives enslaved people of other tribes.
Right. So if those people are us, the so-called black man, if those natives were us, then we have to tell that history and say how we did have territories and we did, carry out commerce, and we weren't slaves. We were slave owners.
Right, but the majority of African Americans that lived here were brought over here.
No,
that's
not economically sound.
What do you mean by it's not economically sound? Like there were slave ships, right?
All right, let's say you wanted to have, you wanted to sell marijuana, right?
Right.
Would you import marijuana or would you grow it here if it's already here?
Well, it depends on whether or not marijuana grew here.
Well, can you grow marijuana here?
You can, but we're just talking about marijuana. Like, what if we're talking about something that you can't grow here?
So what I'm saying is, people were already here. Does it make sense to go all the way to this other continent to bring people on the boat when we know that half of your stock is going to die? You wouldn't do that.
So how many people do you think were brought over from Africa on slave ships? Because that definitely happened.
I don't believe it.
What do you mean you don't believe it?
I don't believe that story.
You don't believe that Africans were brought over on slave ships?
Correct. I believe it may have happened, maybe people were brought over as slaves, but I don't think that the black people in America came from Africa on slave ships. I believe the people that were here were slowly conquered. First they got the East Coast, and then they started spreading out west little by little, conquering. And when you conquer a tribe, what do? You enslave them. They're POWs. Right?
Okay.
That's what you do. So after you conquer this tribe, you make them slaves. Now, how do you conquer the natives here? So let's say you got this tribe is warring against this tribe. Well, this tribe goes talk to the white man. White man says, yo, if you help me wipe out these people, then boom, I'll help you with whatever. So they get together and they wipe out this other tribe. Now, guess what? The white man now outnumbers this tribe. So he wipes them out. You just kill two birds with one stone. You just keep moving like that.
But I'm still confused.
Nigga, fuck y'all law, it's up. You see what Crazy Horse and them was on? Nigga, it's war. Nigga, this our planet, our land. We ain't trying to hear shit about what y'all came over to bring. We don't fuck what Columbus said, nigga. Or Amerigo Vespucci, nigga. Whoever y'all got with y'all, nigga, we gonna do it then. That's the energy I'm on. Cause I remember Crazy Horse. I remember when we was Apache. I remember when we was Navajo, Californians, Mississippians, Illinois Confederacy, Aztecs, Cherokee, Chickasaw, Choctaw, Seminoles, Powhatans, Senecas, and Iroquois, Inca, Mandingo, Zulu. Fuck, I'm honoring they lawful. And then you acting like if you honor it, it changes anything. It don't change shit. It just make you another soft ass nigga in the war. Fuck. You gotta see that though. You gotta see that though. That's the whole reason of me talking about these tribes, so you can really connect and see, nigga, this is us. Ain't never been no civil war, none of that. Whole Seminole Wars that fought about this shit. And before we was Seminoles, we was Cherokee, nigga. The Seminoles was the ones that didn't give in. We was Cherokee, and then they started to give in. Some of us started to give in to that goofy ass emancipation shit, and then they started making niggas merge over to Oklahoma with they whole ass trail of tears. But then you had a set of us that was like, man, nigga, y'all got us fucked up. Nigga, we ain't honoring nothing. And it was just Seminoles. But they come from the Cherokee, though. They branched off like, man, hold on. Nigga, what? Boy, y'all gonna have to get it in blood. Nigga, y'all tripping, boy. Y'all gonna have to get it. That's who the Seminoles was. Then they said they want to confuse you. Well, you had your Seminoles who were Indians, and then you had your blacks. Ain't no black Seminoles, nigga. We the Seminoles, nigga. Ain't no black, wasn't no black Seminoles. And then half was black, half was Indian. The nigga, we the Seminoles, nigga.
You may have heard of Mansa Musa, one of the richest men to have ever lived, the king of Mali who lined his path to Mecca with gold and put his kingdom on the map, literally. But have you heard about the one who made him king? Before Mansa Musa, there was Mansa Abu Bakr II. He was Mansa Musa's brother and king of the Mali Empire. So how did Musa become king? On his legendary journey from Mali to Mecca, Mansa Musa crossed paths with Damascene historian Shihab al-Umari and told him how. The monarch who preceded me would not believe that it was impossible to discover the limits of the neighbouring sea. He wished to know, he persisted in his plan. Mansa Abu Bakr II was an avid traveller and had roamed all around his vast empire before yearning to discover what lay beyond the Atlantic. So he called on engineers of the Lake Chad to build ships so he could launch a fleet across the ocean. He hired a crew of sailors, traders, builders, artists, warriors, and learned men, and supplied them with enough rations to last 2 years. He told them not to return until they reached the end of the ocean or until they had run out of food and water. But after a lone captain and only one of the ships from the 200 he had sent returned to Mali, claiming that the other ships had been pulled into a current and disappeared, Mansa Abu Bakr II began to prepare a fleet once more. But this time, the brave and adventurous king decided to make the journey himself in 1311, almost 200 years before Columbus set foot on American shores. Just as Mansa Musa's journey to Hajj was legendary, so was his brother's journey across the Atlantic. A great leader, Mansa Abu Bakr II travelled with his men on 1,000 ships and sent a further 1,000 ships with supplies, trade materials, crops and animals, and of course gold, which was abundant in his kingdom. So did Mansa Abu Bakr II arrive in the Americas? We may never know, but there are many signs that West African Muslims did. Some of the strongest evidence comes from the pen of Columbus himself, who wrote in his journal that Native Americans confirmed black-skinned people had come from the southeast in boats, trading in gold-tipped spears. Not only were these spearheads described as guanine by Native Americans, which was the Mandinkan word for gold, the language of the Mali Empire, but chemical analysis of those spearheads found that the gold most likely originated from West Africa. Columbus and his son also found that Native Americans had handkerchiefs like those used in West Africa, and clothes similar to the Muslim Moors of Spain. Whether or not Mansa Abu Bakr II himself made it to the lands beyond the Atlantic, we cannot deny that this courageous ruler of one of the richest and largest empires on earth gave up wealth and power in pursuit of knowledge and discovery. His determination to reach the Americas could very well mean that West Africa's relationship with the Americas did not begin with slavery.
In many respects, they are of the middle height, slender, with long faces, bold features, thin lips, wide cheekbones, smooth skins, and the usual tawny complexion of the American tribe. So again, we're still in the book Indian Slavery in Colonial Times Within the Present Limits of the United States by Almond Wheeler Lauber, PhD. Again, this is Studies in History, Economics and Public Law, edited by the Faculty of Political Science of Columbia. In 1708, the Canadian French were exciting the Indians about Kaskaskia to wage war with each other, and were on the spot to get slaves to sell to the English. So they would stir up trouble, make them go to war with each other, and then they would take the captives as prisoners or slaves to sell to the English. So the French were selling American Indians as slaves to the English. These were not Africans. In 1524, accordingly, Verrazano attempted to capture an Indian family consisting of an old woman, a young girl, and 6 children on the northeast coast of North America. All right, we got that in the past videos. We also got in this same account, in this same book from 1524 of Verrazano, he clearly states that these same Indians he was trying to kidnap were black, unlike Ethiopians, right? They were dark skinned, they were so-called Negro. All right, Verrazano said this in 1524. But in this story, when he tried to kidnap him, it continues, he says, but the girl proved so intractable that the soldiers were forced to give up the attempt to take the whole family to the ship, and finally carried away but one small boy who was too young to make any resistance. That's so messed up. Imagine that could be your son they took. In Cartier's first expedition in 1534, he sees some of the natives and carries them on board his ships. Where? On what? On his ships. We're just talking about Deuteronomy 28. On ships, right? And continues, says the relations with the Indians were so friendly that he was able, by gifts and explanations, to persuade them that he meant no harm. So you see the evil nature of these people, right? Tricking your ancestors, being all nice to them, and then grabbing them up and enslaving them. 2 of them were finally detained on board and carried to France. Carried where? To France, to Europe. On the second expedition in 1535, Cartier, replying to the request of the chief Taiguragui that the French carry away another chief, Agona, declared that the king of France had forbidden him to bring back either man or woman, and permitted him to bring to France only 2 or 3 little boys to learn the language. But these pretended instructions did not prevent Cartier from seizing Taiguragui and other chiefs for the purpose of carrying them to France. Chiefs! The great purpose of the French in the New World was trade. Alright, trade. Alright, but we're starting to realize it was basically slave trade. Not just the word trade like we're thinking, oh, they were trading fur, spices, fruits, whatever. No, it was human cargo, slave trade. Alright, they're leaving a word out of this. Their expeditions, excluding those of the missionaries, were commercial in nature. Commercial. Key words here. With them, gold hunting was not a primary consideration. They didn't care about gold, nor were they seeking a refuge from persecution like the English. The great fur trade was being developed by them. This trade was carried on with the Indians, and in all sections where captives in war or kidnapped Indians were purchased from the natives. Such purchase was usually a part of the trade in furs. The custom of purchasing Indians originated with the early explorers and discoverers purchasing Indians. We ain't talking about Africans being purchased here. De Bourgmont sent some of those whom he purchased back to New Orleans. La Vérendrye also in 1731 sent back slaves to French settlements, and in writing of his action implied that he thought he deserved much credit for furnishing the colonies with slaves. Alright, so again, all these slaves, they're not African. French are enslaving your ancestors. Until well into the latter half of the 18th century, Indian slaves were held by the settlers of Detroit, who obtained them in trade with friendly Indians, who in turn took them in war with the Pawnee, Osage, Choctaw, and other western tribes, all right? Indian slaves were held in Detroit. In 1741, the so-called Nation of the Serpent entirely destroyed 17 villages, killed all the men and older women, made slaves of the young women, and traded them for horses and other merchandise. A report to the home government in 1720 concerning Nachitoches declared that the most extensive commerce which could be carried on with the Indians of that section would be in slaves, horses, skins, etc. Okay, so again, the French were here mainly for trade, and their venture was mainly commercial purposes, and the primary thing helping this was slaves, American Indian slavery, workforce, free labor. Another report sent by Lossell told of the Alabama Indians bringing 27 or 28 mobile Indian women and children into the colony and disposing of them to the French. The friendly and allied Indians appreciated the results to be obtained from the sale of their captives to the whites, and not only sold them to the couriers, the Uas, and other traveling traders, but took them directly to the French settlement for sale, as is shown in the preceding paragraph. So can you imagine these times? This was a big hustle. Like, think about it, man. Apparently. Source: Indian slaves from Caribana, trade and labor in the 17th century Caribbean, so the 1600s, right? Carolyn Mary Arena is the author, right? Submitted in partial fulfillment of the requirements for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences, Columbia University, 2017. All right, so now we're really in the introduction, I guess. So it says here, in 1668, a member of Charles II's Trade Council, and read up on that, the Trade Council, Benjamin Worsley, considered strategies for supplying plantation laborers for the English sugar colonies, particularly the new acquisition of Jamaica. So they had taken this from Spain. It says Worsley wrote that if the English Caribbean wanted to be sole masters of sugar for all the world, they could potentially use Guyana, the region of the north coast of South America between the Orinoco and Amazon rivers, as a source for Indian slaves. Again, so these English were setting up shop, right? They had just acquired Jamaica. They're gonna set up a sugar plantation, and they're already planning to get their slaves not from Africa, right, but from the region on the north coast of South America between the Orinoco and Amazon rivers. This is in Guyana, as a source for Indian slaves, not Africans. He argued that it would take less time and thus be more profitable. Less time, right, than bringing people all the way from Africa, and thus be more profitable to transport slaves within the Caribbean region rather than from Africa. More profitable, less time to transport slaves within the Caribbean region rather than from Africa.
Okay, so you have here it says, this shows the black Atlanteans and black Egyptians as the founders of the Mayan, Inca, and Aztec society, right? So we know that the Atlanteans were black people, okay? All right, now, it says black man, gods of black Atlantis, and black Egypt were space travelers. Okay, so the Atlanteans were black, right? The Atlanteans were black, okay? Now we're gonna read this plot for Cocoon, and then we're gonna supposed to move Pandora, man, and I'm gonna get out of here. So you got here. Cocoon. Okay? Let's now take notes. Now listen to this. The plot. It says about 10,000 years ago, peaceful aliens from the planet Antares set up an outpost on Earth of Atlantis. When Atlantis sank, 20 aliens were left behind, kept alive in a large rock-like cocoons at the bottom of the ocean. Now, a group of Antarians have returned to collective, disguising themselves as humans. They rent a house with a swimming pool and charge the water with life force to give the cocoon Antarians energy to survive the trip home. Okay, this white man Jack, he comes upon one of the beings, and it's a woman, right? And he found out not only that they're not what he expects. He did that they're humans, that they're people, but they're not. The outside physical looks normal to him, but the inside, the transformation is something totally different. He wasn't expecting that. Okay? So, with this Antarians, I believe they tried to word, but I believe this Antarians supposed to be Atlanteans. So it said that the Antarians, the cocoons, return to the sea. The Antarians often take the residents of the retirement home with them to Antaria, where they would never grow old, where they would never grow older and never die. You see that? So, they're telling that these people, that these people around 10,000 years ago, so we know that 10,000 years ago, white folks wasn't in existence, so this ain't talking about them. Because the white man, right here, the planet Earth was a world of all black people from the beginning of 66 trillion or 78 trillion years to 4,000 BC. It says, the Grimaldi Africans occupied all parts of Europe in 15,000 BC. The first white man was made 4,000 BC from black albinos. So 4,000 to 6,000 years? It says about 10,000 years ago, peaceful aliens from the planet Antares set up an outpost on Earth on Atlantis.
There's a little bit explained there that where we really come from. Are we really from Earth? Who was here on Earth first, the longest? Who created Earth? Who terraformed Earth? There's a lot of questions that we still don't have. But we kind of filling in the gap between then and now. A lot of people don't want to hear that truth. But the deeper we go in the rabbit hole, the deeper we will never return.